Okay, so welcome everyone to the 11th episode of Expert Speak, presented to you by creators of product. Today we have with us Ankur Joshi, who is the founder and CEO of Nuclei. He's uh, he's been a serial entrepreneur. He's been doing multiple things over the last decade and a half, building products, building companies in various sectors. And today he's going to be talking to us about principles of building a B2B product and a business in India. Uh, it's an interesting concept. I've had this discussion with him in past, and I'm eager to tell you more about what he has already done in a very small period of time in last 1.5 years. But I would refrain myself, and I would hand it over to Ankur to speak about the principles and also share a bit about what they're doing at Nuclei. So over to you, Ankur, and thank you so much for taking out time on a weekend evening for doing this.
Oh, of course, Devakar. The pleasure is all mine. Thanks for having me on this podcast. Really appreciate it. And it's a very good opportunity for me also to talk about Nuclei to a very good group of product managers and learn from them as well about what we can do better, how we can improve our product. So yeah, thanks for having me. How do you want this? Like, I would much rather prefer that it is more conversational in nature rather than just me speaking. So if there is any question in between, like if you want to ask, directly ask, or you can put it in the chat window. I've kept it open, so I'll keep monitoring that as well. Just wanted to, can I screen share? Yeah, I think. No, I think you'll have to allow me to screen share.
Oh, sorry. Yeah, you can now.
Yeah, just give me 1 minute. So I've just prepared one single slide. Let me know if you guys can see my screen properly.
Yeah, it's good.
Is it visible?
Yeah.
Okay, good. So I've just prepared one single slide. I would want to speak about more from the principles or the guiding rails which we created from our learnings from the previous businesses which we ran, and essentially just applied them for Nuclei and made sure that we were as much as possible are on those rails and not deviating from those much. Obviously these are things which we failed at in previous companies. Wanted to put that right in this company, and like I hope that till now we have tried and done some sort of justice to those learnings. And again, these are the guiding principles which will evolve over time. I'm sure few will get added, few will mature into something else for a period of time. So I'll start from taking the first point, which is about thinking big and thinking global. So Nuclei is the fourth business which either I'm building or helping.
Ankur, you want to move to the second slide, it seems.
I am on the second slide. It's not visible?
Yeah, we see only the creators of product right now.
Now?
I think you have screen shared your PPT, but
yeah.
You are presenting yourself and not seeing that.
Hold on. Give me 1 minute.
Yes,
now it
good
is
now.
visible.
Yeah.
Can you see the second screen, second slide?
Yeah.
Okay.
I can see all the points now. This is good.
Can you see the first point or all the points?
We can see all the points.
Then that's fine. We'll take it from there.
Yeah.
So I just wanted to animate it so that we can just focus on one point. Otherwise, what happens? Everyone starts reading all the points, and we lose focus. But it's fine. I hope that everyone is comfortable with this format.
Yeah.
So the first thing which we learned was that when we were building some of the previous businesses, we were not thinking big enough. We were not thinking globally. We were just building a product which was very, very India focused, and that was something which I wanted to change with Nuclei. So from day one itself, we were very sure that this is a product which we need to build for an international audience, for an international client base. So this is even before we were, focused on a particular industry, or we even knew who our clients would be. So these guiding principles were even set before the idea for Nuclei or the sector in which we will, start working in even came about. So we wanted to build a global product, and that's how we listed down our industries. So we started thinking that, which are the industries where we can build a product which can scale globally slightly more seamlessly, rather than having to build for different geographies in a different way. So thinking big and thinking global, or rather thinking global, came from thinking big from day one. We wanted to do it day one. The second part was that we wanted to build a sustainable business. We wanted to build a business, not a startup. At least the definition which has been toyed around with for the past 4 to 5 years. We wanted to build a sustainable business, build something over a period of time, and not build a product or a company to flip it in few years. So had to be profitable from day one itself. Had to survive on its own from day one itself. And we deliberately decided that we will not raise any VC funding, and force ourselves to be very, very conservative when it came to finances. Force ourselves to build in a manner where the revenue is fueling the growth as well as sustainability of the company, rather than an external source of funds where there will always be question marks about raising the next funds, etc., etc. Because then you start losing focus from the core business metrics, and start in a lot of times start focusing on vanity metrics. So you, instead of tracking your profitability, you start tracking your GMV, because you have to raise your next round of fund in 18 to 20 months. So we wanted to build a very sustainable and a profitable business. Now, because of these 2 points, this essentially restricted our target audience or target sectors, if you may. So which were the industries where who will pay us upfront money, who will be comfortable paying us money, and who will always have money to pay us and will not go down us, like will not be cyclical in nature. So we focused on banking, we focused on insurance, we also focused on telcos at a very initial point of time, and literally just went to meet all these executives across all these industries. Initially, friends or friends of friends, and started to understand what problems they were facing and how we can solve those problems using technology. This is really very early days, and I know it sounds that can you really go to customers and ask for their problems and solve them, and try and solve them with them. But that's something which worked for us. So telcos, we very soon realized after a few meetings that 2018 was a very tough period for telcos across. So we dropped them as an industry at that point of time. Now again, we are trying to reach out to them. Between insurance and banking, we realized that insurance was slightly behind banking when it came to digital adoption or digital transformation. So we also paused insurance for the time being and just focused on banks. We met around 100 odd banks across India, Middle East, Southeast Asia in a period of say 5 or 6 months, and literally build the idea of the product from one meeting to the next. Essentially asking them, what can we solve? This is the basic product which we are building. What can we add to this? And then went from there. That's how our API platform, the whole merchant platform, came about. So, and we were also sure, because it was banks, we were able to ask them for good amount of SaaS income. We were able to take a cut of the percentage, like our overall business model, and remain a sustainable business over a period of time. So,
Ankur, can you tell everybody a little bit more on how you were able to reach out to so many banks?
Honestly, it was like a brute force. So reached out to people through email, through WhatsApp, called them, friend of friends, LinkedIn. Like LinkedIn worked very, very nicely in Southeast Asia, specifically in Indonesia and Malaysia. And it was brute force, nothing else. Like just went there, met people, had a good meeting. That person connected us to 3 more people, met them, and it just went on from there. So roughly probably had around 300 odd meetings, but to get those 300 odd meetings, probably did not get another 600, 700 meetings. So that was roughly the conversion. So maybe tried for 1,000 meetings, got around 300 meetings. So truly it was brute force. So that's how we went about it. Now, because of these guiding principles, the whole industry and the product came about. The third guiding principle, which we were very sure about, was that we wanted to remain lean and be extremely frugal when it came to our finances. Obviously, it was also required for us because we did not have tens of crores in our accounts. But it is also important to realize that when you do have that amount of money in the account, you have to still remain frugal. And especially in good times, you have to make sure that you're not spending money here and there, because that fat just keeps on adding, and it becomes very difficult to like it's very difficult to lose that fat over a period of time. You have to work really hard to do that. So if you're staying lean from day one itself, it helps a lot. I'm not sure whether we have been completely successful in that, but we have been thereabouts. Uh, Next guiding principle, which we again always thought about, was always thinking long term. And this was something which I've always been telling myself probably for the past decade or so, but I rarely practiced it. So this time around, again, we were very sure that we have to learn from our failures, whether it was product or people or clients. We will only choose those products which will have a long term impact or value creation. We will only work with people where we are very sure that these people will this team will work with us in the long term. We will always choose attitude over current skill set, because skill sets can be learned, but it's very difficult to change the core behavior of a person. So we will always choose attitude over a particular skill set. And when it even came to clients, we will let go of clients we are not comfortable working with. So that has been the case with us, where it was difficult to say no to a couple of clients, but because there was the working relationship was not turning out to be great, we took the difficult call of cutting the cord before things became even worse. So we were very sure that if we have to build a business over the next 8-10 years, we have to be in a place where we are comfortable working with the team, comfortable with our product, and also comfortable and love working with our clients, because only then we'll be able to succeed. Coming from there, we were also sure that we should refrain from building any linear business. So like, this is a learning from my restaurant days, where after having built, I think we running 9 odd restaurants, we realized after 4 years that restaurant business will always be a linear business. You will only grow store by store by store. You cannot grow from 99 stores to 90 stores in 3 months. It will be very difficult. You will ruin your supply chain, and you won't have a good business anymore. So it was very difficult. Like, McDonald's today has been built over decades, did not get built in 8 or 10 years. So that's like, we wanted to become McDonald's, but did not have the patience to build it over 50 years. So that was a learning from that business, that if at all we go into a zone where we are building a linear business, we will not do it. We'll always think exponentially. We'll always build a product which can grow exponentially. There can be some aspects of the business which are, say, a services in nature, but if those services add extra moat to your current business model around the product, then yes, we will go for it. But again, not focus as much on it, or that should not become our main business. It should be an addition to our main product business. Then, having taken a lot of emotional stress over the last decade, and having made sure that the color of my hair has changed both in my head and my beard, this thing was slightly more personal to me. Looking back, if I have to change one thing about my experience, I would change the amount of emotional stress which I have taken for very small things in life. Business, building a business is obviously, it's a roller coaster. There will be ups and there will be downs, more downs probably than ups. And when you actually achieve those ups, you don't feel that happy, because you're always thinking about that, what's next, what is the next thing which you can achieve. So having a very stable emotional state became very important. And that's when we realized that while we are running a business, we need to have forget about happiness, forget about job satisfaction. We need to be in a place where we have freedom of mind space. We need to optimize for our mind space, and we need to reduce our overall stress level. If that is the place from an emotional state where we are in, then we will be in a better place to take better decisions. and overall from a happiness perspective, from a satisfaction perspective as well, we'll be in a better place. So this is slightly more philosophical in nature, but this we wanted to implement in this business. And one again, the same mistake which I made in running my second business, where while building a B2B product or a platform for a pharmaceutical space, we were targeting that our product will reduce our customers' cost, and we soon realized that selling a product which reduces a customer's cost is exponentially difficult to sell than a product which is increasing a customer's revenue. So we again set it as a guideline that if we have to build a product, we will always build a product which will increase our customers' revenue and not look at the cost at all. So we will only focus on increasing the customer's revenue because it is very easy, or relatively much easier to sell rather than a product which will help customer reduce their cost. So if you're a finance person, you will obviously think that reducing cost directly adds to my bottom line. Increasing the revenue, there is a gross margin which I have to think, and there is only a certain percentage which will add. But if you go in as a salesperson, you will realize that selling that particular item product which reduces someone's cost is very, very difficult compared to selling something which will add to our revenue. So these are the guiding principles essentially on which we started the idea of Nuclei and have built on top of it. More or less there. So this is what we have done.
Yeah, this is quite interesting. So, and all these points are so relatable as well. One thing which I wanted to ask Ankur on this was that a lot of times people say that B2B products or B2B businesses are very sales driven, and whatever product is built will have only some impact, but the kind of impact that sales will do is much more. But the kind of approach that you have done by going and talking to 100 people, trying to understanding their problems, trying to solving for what they need, trying to solve specifically for revenue and not for cost, you've sort of changed it and made it, solved it very much like any other B2C business as well. So my question is that what's your view on the sales or product perspective when it comes to B2B products?
See, sales is essentially nothing else but a person selling to another person. So whether it is B2C or B2B does not really matter. It's the comfort level between two people. It's a person trying to either solve or complete a other person's want, or trying to convince the other person about a particular need which they are not aware of. But at the end of the day, it's not two organizations doing a deal. It's two people doing a deal. So you have to reduce it down to that. So whether it is a B2C sales where you're doing digital marketing, again, there you're, as a digital marketer, you're thinking about what the other person wants or needs and trying to solve it via a digital medium. In B2B, of course, it is slightly more personal than digital. But again, it's two people who are interacting with each other, whether physically interacting with each other or through a digital medium. But ultimately, it's two people who have to try and work together. So for me, it does not differ whether it is B2B or B2C. We took the same approach.
Makes sense. Thanks for the answer. And another thing which I wanted you to dig a little bit deeper on is on the fourth point, which says that always think long term, which sounds right, but is an incredibly difficult thing to do. Like, how do you think long term? You're a small company, you have a few people, you have limited resources, then you have to keep moving day by day, week by week, month by month, but you also have to look long term. So how to do that?
As I said, while explaining that point, I said that I've been forcing myself to think long term probably for the better part of a decade. But I have failed at it. Having listed down these points does not mean that we have successfully implemented those points. We still struggle to think long term for a variety of items, whether it is product or people for that matter. It was a very big struggle to say no to a particular client. It was a very big bang, but it was just a place where we were not comfortable. So you struggle because when you're running a company where there are so many urgent issues which are, on your table and you have to resolve them, it is a lot of times it is difficult to, always think long term. Specifically in current environment, it is very, very difficult to think long term, because you never know when, the virus is going to go away, whether it is 3 months, 6 months, or 3 years, you don't know. So how do you plan for that? So, like, for sure, for the past 4 months, like, we have not planned a product roadmap for a year. We are taking it, month or 2 months at a time, because things are changing so drastically that whatever you plan for 6 months, like, things would have changed in a month or so. So, for definitely for the past 4 months, we are, like, thinking from a short term perspective, definitely for a product roadmap, or, like, signing up clients from a sales point of view. But people, yes, for sure, from a people perspective, uh, whether from a product or client perspective, like, we have slightly done better on the people front, where we have thought about hiring for the long term. Like, there are a lot of people in our company who we hired just for the attitude and not for their current skill set. And that has, rewarded the company in a very, very big manner. So that I'm really, really proud about, that we gave or took a chance on people when, their current skill set did not meet the requirements, but their attitude was so good that, we wanted to work with them in the long term. We wanted to work with them for the next 10 years. So, and similarly, like, it was reciprocative, that, they acquired that skill set fairly quickly, and that has helped the company. So, as I said, like, we still struggle to think long term, but it is nonetheless a guiding principle. We again go back to it and force ourselves that, we should be thinking in that direction.
Makes sense. So before we jump onto the questions, I'll ask one last
Yeah,
question.
yeah, please.
So I love your principles, and that's why I requested you to come here and speak about them. But I think there are two kind of principles. One principles which got validated over time, which were there on the back of your mind, and you now validated, okay, yeah, this is the right thing, and this is what we need to bring. But are there any principles which got formed, which were totally not there before, which like you thought something else, but the principle came out to be something else? So is there one of these principles in this
Yeah.
which didn't
So the
exist on the back of your mind and is there now?
Sure, sure. So the second last, about optimizing the mind space, I had worded it slightly differently. I was thinking from a emotional stress perspective, or probably from a freedom perspective. This is something which Karthik in our team, who's our CEO, he helped me, reform that particular principle. That if you're just thinking about freedom to do or freedom from doing certain things, you're essentially optimizing the mind space. You want to make sure that you have enough freedom of mind, not about, freedom about, having more money or having a big house, etc. Like, those things are vanity. Having, so that's something which got reformed into this particular, point about having mind space rather than just taking the emotional stress.
Okay.
Other than that, I think other than that, like, others are fairly straightforward. They were clear learnings from the previous businesses.
Yep, I think this also comes with age, as you grow old. So so folks, what you don't know is that when I met Ankur a few months back, he told me, and Ankur, if I can share, uh,
Please go ahead.
his daily routine, that he would wake up early in the morning, he would read, he would spend time with his dogs, he would give his mind space before touching his mobile phone, and that would be 2.5, 3 hours, 3 good hours in the morning. And even though it sounds easy to do, but it's an extremely difficult thing to do. But Ankur, I tried doing that for 2 or 3 months, but then this whole work from home and Corona things struck, and I'll probably be restarting that soon.
Yeah, yeah. So trust me, like, I was always, till probably last year, I was like awake till 2 a.m., 3 a.m., working late at night. And I believe that, that was the time when I really, those were my best hours to, have focused work done. But then I think I learned this again from, like, there is one person called Reshma in our team. So when I was interviewing her, she said that, Ankur, I wake up every day at 5:30. I was like, okay. And then what do you do? So she's like, then I do yoga for an hour, and then that just gives me 3 hours, 3 good hours before, 9 o'clock hits, and I can do everything which I want to do. before the day hits, the mates come, etc., etc. I was like, you're right. Like 3 hours is a very big chunk of time. And then I went back, thought about it that my time from 11 p.m. to 2 a.m. There are a lot of times when I just get digressed. I start reading one thing and then click stream happens and one article to another article to other article, and I probably lose focus. I'm also mentally tired because of the day. Getting those 3 hours early in the day probably are way more productive than the 3 hours late at night. So like I just tried doing that from this, I think in December onwards or something, and I've continued to do that. So never done that for the past 33 years of my life, but now I've changed that habit, and I'm really thankful that I adopted waking up early, because it is very, very fruitful.
Okay, let's go on to the question. Divya, you want to ask her a question?
Yeah, hi. First of all, thank you for a great session.
Thank you.
You touched a lot on the optimizing for mind space. I think personally doing it is still easier. I wanted to understand how you brought about that principle into the company. Like, I understand what you're talking about in terms of what you did personally, shifting to a morning routine, having time in the morning. That is all personally that you've done. How have you brought that mind space optimizing principle in the company? What are you doing for that? I'd love to let you know.
So again, not being completely successful at it in propagating throughout the company, but obviously, like if you ask everyone in the company, I speak a lot. So I keep telling everyone that this is the thing which you should do, etc., etc. Like recently, we have again, just from a mind space perspective, like it has got multiple aspects to it. It has like a mental health aspect, it has got a physical health aspect, and also from a work-life balance, if you may. Like I don't necessarily think from a work-life balance perspective, because I think it's completely life. Like work is just part of your life. But so you have to think from various angles when you think about that. So there are certain aspects which we are doing within the company where we, force people or push people to read more, because that will give them, and for that they need to have a certain time in their day set aside to read. Otherwise, it's very easy to make an excuse that I don't have time. So we push people to have a certain time aside to focus away from their current work and just read about something else. Similarly, we force, like, or rather, force is the wrong word, push people to have a, like, become a generalist rather than just a vertically focused specialist. That again pushes them think about something new every day, being curious about some other aspect of the business. Like, why is a engineering manager not thinking what a problem which a salesperson is facing, or vice versa? That just gives them a set of time during the day where they have to think about something else, and that gives them more problems to solve slightly from a different angle, and it necessarily forces them to come back to their existing work and create solutions for some other vertical in the company. So that helps them have more mind space over a period of time. So again, slightly long term, but they will try and reduce stress for someone else or for themselves. So that is one angle. The second is, like, again, definitely for the senior team in the company, I tell them that like, we have an understanding that over a period of time we need to make sure that we become redundant for the business. So we need to grow leaders within the company, delegate our responsibilities to them, and then our position should become redundant. So does not mean that we will leave the company, it just means that we have more mind space to think about something else, think about the next phase of growth, think about what other problems we can solve. So slightly different angles, but we are going about it in that fashion. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. And I'm glad to see that companies are actually following mindfulness in the organization as well. Often we see people don't get time to improve on their skill set, read about things. I think it's an important aspect which gets ignored very often. So yeah, thanks. It answers what I was looking for. Thank you.
Okay.
Mitakshar Handa, you want to ask a question? Mitakshar? So the question
Should
is
I just
that
read out the?
how did you
Yeah,
go
I can.
about finding, right people to work with in the initial days when you're low on revenue and sales?
Uh, See, hiring is nothing but sales. So you have to, sell continuously. This is something which I keep saying that, sales as a skill set is something which is useful across the board. Whether you are convincing your in-laws to, allow you to marry their daughter, whether you are convincing a client to take your product, or whether you are convincing a person to, leave their other job and probably come and work with you on slightly lesser salary. So it's all about going and selling your vision, and you don't want someone who is not excited with that vision. You want someone who is excited and willing to sacrifice something and come and work with you, because that's where you form a bond and lay down the foundation for a long term relationship. So finding people is not easy. It's very similar to finding good people is not easy. It's very similar to selling to a client and convincing them about your product. But you have to sell. You have to sell an eventual vision, and believe that if you have the right vision, if you have the right basics, then people will get attracted to it. And obviously, it will be a funnel. You will reach out to 50 people, only 5 will say yes to you, and that's fine. That's something which you do. So yeah, like we just went around and sold to people, nothing else.
Okay. Shreyas, I think you have a bunch of questions.
Yeah, yeah. First of all, I think, I mean, your talk was very relatable as well. So thanks for this.
Of course. Thank you.
Okay, I have a bunch of questions. Let me start with the first one. So the first thing is about the fact that you said look, you want to focus on selling the vision that you can increase customers' revenues rather than reducing their costs. I mean, typically people look at only those two things, right? So one thing though is increasing revenue. Doesn't it seem more visual to them? Like, how do you convince the buyers that you can indeed increase revenue? Costs are slightly easier to quantify, as you said earlier, right? You can say, oh, hey, you're doing all of this. If you don't do a couple of things and you let our product do it, it can reduce like a very concrete amount of costs. But for revenue, you're literally selling them, hey, this is a new way of doing things, and that's why that's why it'll help you, right? How did you go about convincing them? Like, are there some examples of how you did so?
Sure, sure. So see, there are three types of things which you can make revenue from. One is either sell your time, so that's where all the services companies come from, or rent your product, essentially charge a license fee for your product and create value. The third is about selling a vision. When you sell a vision, it's not necessarily resulting directly into a license fee, or selling your time and getting a fixed amount of services income. But when you're selling a vision, you're essentially creating value in the long term. So when you sell a vision, it's not about selling a product, your product to them. It's about creating a product together. So that's what we did with, specifically with our early set of customers. We built the product along with them, rather than went and we did not go and sell our product to them. It was not our product. It was, or rather, it was not my product which they were buying, Nuclei's product which they were buying. It was our product along with the bank. So it became much easier to sell because they were also giving us inputs in building this product out. So that's how we went about it. So we try and always sell vision, not a product or a service. Does
Got it.
that make sense?
Yeah, but how did you make this vision, like, I mean, relate to them? Right? Did you like say look at a specific problem that they are facing and say how this vision will solve that problem, or how did you? Yeah.
So at that point of time, the banking sector was probably in a sweet spot where they were feeling some pressure from the consumer tech industry, because all the consumer tech companies were trying to come into financial products. We are still trying to come into financial products and make money out of that. So banks were feeling a pressure from that whole segment of companies and wanted to compete with them. So that was a emotion which we got across geographies, that they wanted to become more like consumer tech companies and wanted to compete, wanted to go to market faster, have a much more customer friendly, like have a better CX, be more engaging with the customers. So this problem statement came from them, not from us. As I said, like we built along with them. We went about building the product from one meeting to the next. And this problem statement came from them that, we want to increase engagement. How do we do that? And then we went back, thought about that there is something which you can build. and we built the whole platform for them. So that's how we went.
Got it. Okay. Okay, this makes sense. The second question I had was about thinking long term, right? So, like, are there some examples of like some trade-offs that you have to do in your product where in B2B, basically, it's always a challenge between like, oh, do you customize something for this one customer, or um, um, do you say no to it and because it doesn't fit in or align with your product vision, right? So, are there some like examples where you had to make this kind of a trade-off?
Uh, Actually, many. Some of them we made the trade-off by thinking long term and not doing it. In some cases, we did not do it by thinking more from a relationship perspective and ended up doing it. So, like, as I said, like we've not been 100% successful in only thinking long term always. We have taken decisions where we have thought about short term, maybe from a cash flow perspective, taken those decisions and said that, what, let's do this one, uh, just to make sure that, we are in a less stressful environment. But yes, there were decisions where we said that, what, we won't do this because this does not have any long-term value for us. So it's always a decision which is difficult to make, and it varies from situation to situation. It varies from time to time. It varies from client to client as well. So where we think that there is a long-term opportunity with a particular client where we can, definitely make or create more value with them, we are okay, sacrificing on certain products, or doing something short term with them. But where we don't see a long term value, so you can say that, wherever we have taken those short term decisions, we're also keeping in the long term vision in mind, or long term value creation in mind. So that's where
Okay,
we have made those sacrifices. Where we did not think that there is a long term value creation, we decided to not take those decisions.
got it, got it. Okay, yeah, that's a good way to think about it, I think. Okay, and the third thing is, so as you said, you're working across, say, um, India and Southeast Asia, right? So on your team as well, like most people would be, talking and researching about um, products in India and Southeast Asia. But how do you like? Are there any practices that you follow within your company, or how do you just ensure that everyone has the mindset that okay, we may be building for this audience right now, but we are actually like this product should be a global product. It should meet global standards. It should apply to people around the world. Yeah.
Uh, it's a very good question, and to be honest, we have not been successful at doing that till now, at least. Uh, Definitely want to do it. Uh, I'll come to the crux of it. Like, when we decided to build a product company, we were very sure about this is something which we wanted to keep as our mission. That we want to build a product company out of India. Like,
Yeah.
you have a lot of product companies which sell in India but are not built out of India. There are very few success. There are a few success stories. There are very few success stories of product companies having built from India. And we wanted to be a product company which is built from India, built in India, and are selling globally. Uh, for that, one clear thing which needed to change was, jugaad. We are not, as a company, we are still not very, uh, good in shipping out very good world class quality product. There are still bugs. Like, if you compare our product to probably a product sold in Western Europe, you will see that, our product won't match the quality level at par with their expectations. So there is still some way to go for us. What we have done recently is change certain processes in which quality team works, uh, certain places where our development team works, and change certain processes around those, which has resulted in a much better quality product which comes out. So we have taken a TDD approach, where earlier we had pod structures where developers were developing, and QAs were in that same pod who were testing. Now we have removed QAs from those particular pods and made them a central team. So QAs now essentially replicate customers. They are not part of the team. Developers have to write the test cases themselves and test them also before pushing the, shipping the code. QAs then come in as, impersonating a customer, and then they test it. And the quality should be at par to their expectations, and only then the product goes to the clients. So there's a slight change in process which we made probably 2 months back or 3 months back. If we have to become a global product company, we have to definitely keep our quality very, very high. We cannot say that, jugaad se kaam ho jayega. Nahi hoga. You have the quality of the product should be at par with various other global companies also. So that's something which we are on a path towards. We have not reached there yet.
Okay. Yeah. Thanks for this.
Thank you.
And I think it's very clear that the tech that is being built in India or rest of Southeast Asia, there's no doubts about the capabilities. It's
correct.
much more on the mindset thing, as you said, Ankur, that it's the mindset which is different. Otherwise, capability wise, there's no difference between the quality of engineers, product managers, entrepreneurs that we see here in India. So one more thing which I wanted to ask Ankur was, fintech is a very hot term in India. Lots of people want to get into fintech. Lots of product people want to become fintech PMs or fintech product engineers or designers. So I want you to talk a little bit about what makes fintech such an interesting space, and how do you see fintech as a space growing over next 4 to 5 years in India and Southeast Asia?
So one thing, like, I am no expert on fintech as such. So again, very, very personal opinions. From a fintech perspective, why so many people are interested? Because there's a saying which, or rather a tweet which became very viral, that either a startup dies a startup, or lives long enough to become a fintech. So
yeah,
it is
or
obvious
a lending company.
Or a lending company, yeah. So it's obvious because, like, there is so much opportunity there, and no disruption has happened in that space for decades. So it is slightly obvious that problems need to be solved in a different manner. There is a lot of arbitration there. There is a lot of margins there, and a lot of scope which people from outside the financial industry can come and solve. So that is the reason why there is so much interest in it. Plus, like, if you go and look at any other company, over a period of time, everyone realizes that everyone has to get into lending to earn some money. So that's something which, again, it pushes everyone towards financial services. From a fintech perspective, of course, there is so much scope. Like, even in India, I'll take a very simple example. If I have to buy a car, I have to make the most effort in getting the loan first. Buying the car, which is the end product, is very, very easy. Getting the loan is the tougher part.
Yeah.
But loan is a means to the end. I am not taking the loan. I want the car. I want the car, but I need a loan to buy that car. How do we make this process very simple? How do we make it seamless? That is what a lot of companies are trying to solve. That is something which we are also trying to solve. But how do we make sure that the banks understand that loan is not the product which the customer is buying? The customer is buying the car or the house, not the loan. But banks start thinking that they have to sell the product, their banking product first, and the end product will come after that. So this mindset change, once that happens, then automatically the processes from grounds up will change. And this is true across the globe, not just in India. Then again, India, because of the depth, or because of so many, like a big chunk of our population now moving into middle class, now getting more educated about financial products, will be exposed to financial products. So that's why everyone sees that opportunity. And again, that's true across a lot of emerging markets. So I believe that's the only reason why there is so much interest, and decades of legacy problems which need to be solved now, definitely need to be solved now through technology. So, like, I think that next decade is going to create a lot of value for fintech organizations, for anyone who is working towards solving a problem from a financial services perspective.
Okay. Surya, you have a question?
Too long to type.
Yeah. Surya Kapita. So yeah, if you're speaking, you're on mute. No.
We can probably take the next question.
Yeah, Utkarsh.
Yeah. Hi, Ankur. First of all, thank you for this amazing session. So my question is revolves around, okay, so I was going through a LinkedIn profile and I saw that you have started 3 different companies. You mentioned about the restaurant business. Then I saw that you started pharmaceutical B2B e-commerce platform. And then you're now in banking and fintech. Now, you have founded all of these. And the another interesting thing that I found was that you started the first business after 4 years of your undergrad. So can you tell me how were you inspired and got the courage to start 3 companies in different sectors? How do you gain this knowledge? And how do you go about it?
Yeah, so the different sector bit was like no inspiration was required for that. I like the first business I started because I'm not sure if I can say it on this podcast, but like, is it okay? It's a story about a hostel hostel wing. So like, I'm assuming, okay, I'll definitely use proper words, but yeah, we were just sitting and having beer. And, you know, at that point of time, I was working in an investment bank. Obviously, the job was not that, it was not giving me satisfaction. At that point of time, that's what I thought. In hindsight, I know that, you know, because the outcome or the process was not in my control, I just wanted more control. Or wanted the outcome to have wanted to have more control on the outcome, and that's the reason I wanted to move out of it. So we were just sitting and we thought that, you know what, restaurant mein baithe hain, they have so very good margins, and 5 rupees ki cheez 50 rupees bechte hain. We can also do it. Obviously, we are intelligent. We can definitely solve this problem. So why not? So that's the reason we went into restaurant. No other logic. It was very, very stupid of us to do that. But of course, it was a journey. We learned a lot. I gained a lot of skill sets during that time, struggled a lot, suffered a lot. Probably for 4.5 years we were there. Ended up running a profitable business, but then soon realized that it was a very linear business, which I mentioned earlier, and therefore decided to move out. After that, I wanted to, was sure that, I will not do linear. I will go into tech business, and started looking for some problems to solve. Pharma, because there are a few people who were close to me who were in that industry. Spoke about that there is a big problem to solve between a distributor and a retailer. Why don't you solve that problem? Tried solving that, but there was no product market fit. Plus, the market was very, very fragmented across India between cities as well. Like the market in Bombay was very different to Pune or Bangalore. So once we soon realized that, our product will not suit a Bombay or a Bangalore market and will suit only the Pune market, we immediately shut down that business and moved out of that. Then I already spoke about why Nuclei. Like we were not sure that we will do banking as an industry. It's just that our meetings, our guiding principles led us towards that industry, and today we are there. So we did not choose banking as an industry to build a product for. Eventually, our path led us there. Does that answer your question, Utkarsh?
Yes, it does. And okay, I don't see any other question over here. So I'd like to continue my question, which is, so I'm 23 right now, and I have left my the job that I had earlier, and now I'm thinking of starting something new. I have an idea in the edtech domain. What would the one thing that you would recommend me that I go ahead and learn more about this domain? So I am in contact with a few people who I'm getting mentorship from, but is there one principle that you would tell me as someone who has not done anything earlier? And now I'm referring back to your restaurant business, something that you learned out of there that rings a bell with you.
Don't be afraid. Think as big as you can. Think big, and if not, then have people around you who will force you to think bigger. As you said, you already have mentors in place. Like that's one thing which we did not think of. So we dreamt of building a McDonald's, but you're not thinking about it. You're dreaming about it only. So that's something which, if I go back, I would definitely change. Like if we thought about building a McDonald's, day one, our decisions would have been very, very different than just dreaming about building a McDonald's. So if you're asking me only from my first business perspective, so if you're starting today, think big and then force yourself to think bigger. Like just continue to break that glass ceiling or go to the next benchmark, and don't be afraid. Like, what's the worst that can happen? We shut down the business, that's fine. Many people do that.
It's such a good advice, Ankur. And I mean, it's if you look at it, it's generally it's obvious, but it's difficult. It's obvious because if you think big, you may or may not achieve the goal that you have. But if you think small, that will never be big.
Correct. Absolutely right.
Because you're creating your own glass ceiling on that. This is what I want. So the max you'll get is that.
And the other thing which Utkarsh I'll tell you is like believe in the power of compounding. It's very easy to. This was something which we discussed last week itself. That like building a habit or building in small portions, small increments over a period of time will result in much better results, higher outcomes, higher value creation, rather than just hoping that you will become, create or get the product market fit overnight. So like just believe in power of compounding. That really helps. So long term, always long term.
Thank you, Ankur. Thank you so much.
Of course.
Hi, Ankur and Divakar. Am I audible? Surya here.
Welcome back.
I don't know, my headset was acting up. Hey, Ankur. Yeah. Thanks for the session, Ankur. Actually, this has been pretty insightful. I've been working in B2B space as well, so I could relate to a lot of things that you were saying. So I was in a startup earlier, and we were building in a manner that you mentioned earlier, like you were trying to build a product hand in hand with the customer. Right. So related to that, my question is, when you're building along with the customer, right, and who comes from a very legacy mindset, how do you ensure that what you're building is scalable for the larger market? It will be scalable for the other customers as well. How do you how did you go about it?
As I said earlier, that there were times when we were asked to build something which was not scalable. Few times we took the decision to build that because it was in the interest of long-term value creation for the company. Most of the times we said no to building that because it was not falling in line with the scalability of that particular product. So if a particular product is being built only for one particular client and is not scalable across the rest, but it adds to the long-term value creation for the company, we decided to go about doing that. Now, there could have been different circumstances in which we could have said no to that as well. But given the circumstances or the information available to us when we took that decision, it was a short-term decision, but in the long-term benefit of the company. So that's the reason we took it. So as I said, there's no short formula for that. You have to depend on the information which you have on that particular day, situation you are in during that particular period, and then take the decision. So yes, sometimes you will get it right, sometimes you will get it wrong, but that's fine. Like just be stumbles and just get up and again keep going.
All right.
There is no right formula for this. Like I cannot tell you that A plus B equal to C and this is how you take decisions. That's not how it will never be like that. It will always be very, very situation dependent.
All right. Thanks, Ankur.
Of course.
So with this, we come to an end to the session. Thank you so much, Ankur, for taking our time. Can we all unmute and give Ankur a big round of applause here? So this is the max.
Thank you, Divakar. Thanks for having me. It's really
so it's been great. Thank you so much, Ankur, and thank you everyone for taking our time today. And Ankur, if people want, I hope they can reach out to you if they have more questions or anything that they would want to learn.
Absolutely.
Okay. Thank you, folks. Have a nice weekend.
Yeah, you too, Divakar. Thank you so much. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, everyone.
Bye.